When you think global AI governance, there's one region that jumps out immediately for its really comprehensive approach. That's the EU, right?
Definitely. The EU AI Act, it was adopted back in June 2024, and it really is the world's first comprehensive AI law,
So a trailblazer in that sense.
for sure. And it reflects that European focus on, fundamental rights. They take a very structured, risk-based approach.
Risk-based, how does that work exactly?
Well, basically, different AI systems get different levels of scrutiny. It depends on their potential for harm. So the really unacceptable stuff, that's been banned since early 2025.
Okay.
Then you have rules for general purpose AI kicking in around mid-2025,
Hmm.
and full compliance for the high-risk systems that's staggered out through mid-2026 and even into 2027 for some.
Right, quite a detailed timeline, a very structured top-down model. Now, how does that compare if we look east towards China? Their approach seems, well, quite different.
Oh, very different. China's is much more centralized, state-controlled. The focus there is strongly on security, content regulation, and algorithmic transparency, trying to see how these AI systems make decisions.
So less about preemptive risk categories like the EU.
It's structured differently. They don't have one single AI act.
Mhm.
Instead, it's a series of specific regulations, things targeting generative AI or deep fakes,
Right.
and rules on algorithm recommendations. They've actually got new rules for labeling AI content coming in September 2025.
Interesting. So very focused domestically, but you mentioned international cooperation too.
Yeah, that's the fascinating part. Even with this strong state control, they announced a global AI governance action plan just this July 2025, proposing international collaboration.
Hmm. Okay, so EU is comprehensive, China is centralized. What about the US? Across the Pacific, they seem to be taking another path entirely.
That's a good way to describe it, another path. The U.S. is much more of a, let's say, a patchwork. There isn't one big federal law governing AI.
A patchwork, right. So what does that look like in practice?
Well, you see action through things like executive orders. For instance, President Trump's AI action plan from July 2025 that's very focused on American AI dominance, primarily through deregulation.
Okay, deregulation.
And on the same day, another executive order aimed at preventing woke AI in the federal government, basically banning federal agencies from using AI chatbots seen as having partisan bias.
Right, so very specific interventions.
Exactly. And alongside that, you have ongoing efforts at the state level, plus various federal agencies issuing their own sector-specific guidance. It's much more fragmented.
So we've got the EU's law, China's state control, the US patchwork. What about some other key countries that already have rules on the books? Thinking South Korea, maybe Saudi Arabia.
Good examples. South Korea passed its AI Basic Act late in 2024. That's set to come into force early 2026. It tries to balance, fostering innovation with setting ethical guidelines.
Hmm.
And Saudi Arabia, through their national authority, SDAIA, they've been quite active. They already put out ethics principles in 2023 and specific guidelines for generative AI in 2024. Shows they're moving fast.
Okay, so those are the ones with frameworks more or less in place. But lots of countries are still figuring things out, right? In planning or review stages. This is where it gets really interesting, maybe a bit messy.
Definitely. Take Japan. They approved their AI Promotion Act in May 2025. Their whole angle is deliberately light touch and innovation first, meaning they're consciously avoiding strict rules right now to encourage investment, to try and take a lead technologically.
Okay, innovation focus. What about Canada?
Canada is an interesting case. Their big federal AI law, the Artificial Intelligence and Data Act, or AIA, well, it effectively stalled out early in 2025. So as of now, they're kind of left without a main federal framework.
A gap then. And the UK, they hosted that big AI safety summit.
Right. The UK also favors a pro-innovation stance. They're leaning on existing regulators rather than creating a big new AI law, despite some pushes, like a private members bill back in March 2025 calling for an AI authority. The government seems resistant to that kind of statutory regulation for now.
So Japan, light touch, Canada stalled, UK pro-innovation. What about other regions? Australia, Latin America?
Yeah, there's activity across the board. Australia's focusing on AI capabilities and has some government-specific frameworks.
Huh.
Brazil's Bill 2338 is pretty far along, approved by their Senate, now in the lower house. Peru is implementing its existing AI law regulations. And then you have countries like Chile and Argentina actively debating legislation, often looking towards the EU AI Act as a kind of model.
It really is a spectrum, isn't it? From the EU's very strict rights-based regulation to Japan's more hands-off innovation-first strategy. What's the big takeaway from all this variety?
Well, the clear trend is definitely towards more structured AI governance everywhere. Nobody's really ignoring it anymore. But the how varies wildly.
Right.
And you also see the influence of international bodies like the OECD and UNESCO. They're developing principles and frameworks that are shaping some of these national discussions, maybe nudging things towards some common ground eventually.
As we've kind of zipped around the globe looking at this, what stands out most to you? It's just such a dynamic, shifting picture.
It really is. I suppose the big question it leaves me with is this. AI doesn't respect borders, right? These systems operate globally. So will this diversity of national rules lead to, I don't know, fragmentation, like huge headaches for companies trying to comply everywhere? Or will we start to see a convergence, maybe around a few dominant models like the EU's or perhaps something else?
And what does that mean for actual innovation and for protecting people's rights around the world?
Exactly. That's the critical question we'll be watching unfold.